Okay, so let's get the ball rolling. So before we start, we always have to start by giving a huge thank you and shout out to the Rev Genius team for giving us a space to share with people who share our vision. It's always nice to interact in these spaces while learning in the process. So today's webinar, I don't know if some of you were in our first part, but this is the second part from our last discussion, which was about how to spot and create a great BDR team. This is all about how to scale this team. So we have two rockstar sales ladies to help us. Today, we will discuss everything from how to assess your current team strengths, how to operate efficiently with the right tools, processes, and how to use data to drive your results. We will also help you to create a supportive and collaborative team environment and to help you develop a comprehensive hiring plan to identify A players. So, with no further ado, I will let Kim Cram, our guest speaker, introduce herself, and then Cynthia can talk a little bit more about what she does around here in Simera. She is our rock star. So, go ahead, girls, take it off.
Yeah, I'll jump in first. So for me, I've been in sales for the last 18 years. In the last 10 years, I've been in tech sales, leading different sales teams, and in the last couple of years, really focusing in on consulting, helping teams get off the ground, or fixing problems that they may be having when they want to get their sales really moving and have that rocket ship. So that's a little bit about me.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Sin.
Well, hello everybody again. As most of you know me, I am one of the founders and head of global sales for Simera. I built the BDR team from scratch and continue to scale, and really excited because today we're going to talk about other sales roles in the organization, AEs, sales managers, BDMs, and how to scale quickly. So it's going to be fun. Excited to have you all today.
Yeah, and just to give you all a heads up of how this is going to work, I'm going to be the moderator MC for this, and I will be asking questions that we have composed all together to answer for you guys. If any of you have any questions, please set them in the question and answers. I will try and bring them in the conversation, and if not, don't worry. We will have a couple of minutes at the end to answer all of your questions. So just shoot, and we will get to you when it's time to. So for the first question, we're going to start with Kim. So a lot of people want to know what's the starting point for building a sales team from scratch, like how to move from the founder to lead a hiring sales team.
Yeah, it's a good question. And one of the biggest things that I see is, first and foremost, when you talk about founder-led sales, it really truly needs to be founder-led sales. Not, hey, I have an idea, now I'm going to hire somebody else to go do it for me. First and foremost, having that founder really go out and figure it out. And the reason that's so important is to be able to understand, how does their product work in the marketplace? What are people saying, and what pivots do we need to make? And is it just an idea, or do I really have something, and get the ball moving and make those pivots with the product? But once you have that and you have some sales, a founder can't do everything. Sometimes wish they could, or they try to, but can't do everything. So now it's time to go hire out. And this is one of the biggest challenges, because do you get somebody who knows how to build? Do you get somebody who's just been a really good sales rep? And so this challenge of, who do we find, or what type of person are we looking for? It's honestly one of the things that I've done for a lot of different companies of, hey, let me come and be your leader that's going to build, and then have that day-to-day sales rep that's going to do the day-to-day sales. Because the problem of having somebody do it all, build and sell, where do they spend their time? Where's the balance of trying to actually build the processes and all of the things that go into it, and do the selling? And so it's a really tough position to be in, and expertise to have somebody be able to do it all is really tough. So it's kind of a unicorn to have them do all things. So if you can be able to get somebody that can come in and be like a fractional leader to help build some of those things on the side, while somebody comes in is doing the selling, that's the ideal spot. And the other thing I'd say is, if I'm going to hire, I'm going to hire at least two. And the reason for that is them to learn together. I want them to compete. So it's not just one person. I always like to hire at least in two, so that we can be able to really get this thing off the ground and collaborate and build together.
Yeah, that's something that we
Love
talk
it.
about all the time. We always tell our clients how it is important to have more than one person come over. For the same competencies that you just talked about. And something I want to ask, and I actually want to ask this to both of you because you've been around in the sales world for so long and you've built different teams differently. I'm going to ask Cynthia first because I just know the organization right now where we're both at. What do you think is the correct way to start the structure? Like, what is the correct first hire and how to move and scale down? And then, Kim, you can probably tell us what's your experience on your side.
I think that it really depends because Kim actually made a really good point about the fractional product. We just started that in Simera, and fun fact, it's been really, really successful. A lot of founders don't have time to like actually train sales reps. And this is an actual story, the story that I'm going to tell. We had 3 BDRs placed with one of our customers for 4 months. They had no luck. They thought it was the reps' fault, and the reps were enrolled in coaching sessions with me, and they were great. So we told them we're going to give it a try, do the fractional product with you. They booked 12 meetings in 1 week, 2 reps alone. I got a call from the founder today, really excited, like, oh my God, I want to continue scaling this. And I want 3 or 4 more reps. I want you to manage them and basically do all of the management side and just put meetings in my calendar, and I'm willing to pay more. So for companies that are building and starting to grow, if the founder is not ready to hire like an experienced sales leader, I think the fractional product is actually a great choice because you get the experience of a sales leader that's hand holding your reps and making sure that they deliver, especially when you're doing lead gen. But if you do have the budget to actually hire an outsourced sales leader, I think that's actually the first hire that you should do because that's who's going to build your playbook. That's going to do all of the hiring. That's who's ever going to coach your reps. On my experience, that's how it should be done because if you don't have the time to actually train and coach your BDRs, it's not going to work. Like BDRs need to be, there is a huge coaching side attached to it, a huge management side attached to it. If you're willing to do the work, it's going to work. If you're willing to just navigate on automatic pilot, it's not going to work. That's on my experience. I don't know what Kim thinks about this.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I'm hearing echo. Is it from my own self, or can you all hear your echo?
No, we can hear you. Good.
Okay. Exactly what you're talking about. There is a pretty big time commitment to training, and you're trying to balance out, do I just bring in someone experienced and let them do their thing? How much effort's going to be from my standpoint of as a leader to be able to get them up and running, and not only get them up and running, but accountability and, making sure that we're getting on pace, because when you're starting out with a company, you really want that thing to be growing in the right direction, not just going sideways. So having that ability to really focus in and, how much time is it going to take and what is it going to take to get people up and running and build that playbook and get all those different pieces in place. So you're spot on that, Cynthia.
Yeah, that's what I've seen based on my experience. Definitely.
And when would you say is the correct time to scale your sales team? Like, when is the correct time to say, okay, I need a sales manager to step in and start helping me build my playbook, start helping me build my team?
Yeah, from that standpoint, I'd say, first and foremost, that you have something that works. Meaning, hey, I have some sales reps. Maybe you start with those 2 sales reps and they start going and they're starting to have some success. And you're starting to build out and say, okay, these are the different stages. This is the steps that need to be taken. But you have a process that works. And now it's time to, they're over capacity. Because sometimes we see, I don't know if you've seen this, Cynthia, I've seen it a ton, where you see these companies that have like just a number put in front of them. And so they think like, okay, well, the only way to get there is to start hiring. They don't have a process in place. They don't really even have success. They don't even have their reps at capacity, but they're saying, oh, we'll just need to hire. We'll figure the rest of it later. And it doesn't work. So a big thing is, hey, we have this thing, it's working. A book that I read when I was getting my MBA is Nail It, Then Scale It. So You've nailed how to attract people to say, yes, I want a meeting. You've nailed it, how to get people to say yes and buy your product. And then you're saying, okay, now that we have these pieces in place, let's start scaling it. Let's add another person to the mix. Let's add another, and whether it's you start off with full cycle reps, maybe it's time to add a BDR, or, there could be a lot of different directions you should go or can go. But the biggest thing with it is having that process in place. It's working. Now we can add people to it, and we can basically put them into, they come in the front door, and we can set them up for success. Here's exactly the steps you need to take. Here's the stages that you're going to do it. And you can be able to identify when somebody is not doing well. You can be able to say, oh, it's at that step, and it's because you have it all mapped out, and you can be able to scale it.
Agree with you. I think that you need to actually have close deals to start scaling your team, because if you're just going to be hiring BDRs to get a volume of meetings and you don't even know how your product's going to work out, and like the bottlenecks that you're probably going to have along the way, it's not going to work out because you don't even have your ICP fine tuned. And normally the ICP is a replicate of your best existing customers. So you have no idea who's your ICP, who are you selling to, who should they be reaching out to, who should they not be reaching out to. So yeah, 100%. I think that you need to be successful, and maybe it's not like fully successful that you're closing 100 deals a month, but just know what success looks like, know who your ideal customer is before you start scaling your team.
And just coming a little bit back on the scaling part, I had a client last week. He was like he's been a developer for 15 years, and he just came out and said, "Hey, I need to start selling my product, but I know nothing about sales. Like, I can crack any computer, I could hack whatever you want, but I don't know how to talk to people. I don't know how to sell my product." Like, what is the best thing to do when you are a beginner salesperson, when you don't know anything about the processes or the playbook or how to start selling that?
Personally, I think outsourcing that is the best way. I mean, to go out and say, hey, I'm going to hire a VP of sales, someone that's been there, done that, it's really expensive, and it's a little too early. There's not enough there. So personally, I'd say outsource and say, hey, I'm going to get a fractional leader, help come in, start to build this out for me without the time and without the money that it takes to do that. And so that they can be able to start building out that process, and to say, okay, now we're ready. We've got we're going to hire a BDR or an account executive, but they're building out that process so that they're set up for success. Because this is a great example, Camille, of somebody coming. They know they need to start selling, but it is a completely foreign world. And I work with companies all the time where they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have a client right now where they're more finance people, and they know numbers, but they're like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what our sales process, I don't even know if our targets are right. I just know that it's not working. So help me. And so the earlier you can do that, the less pain and frustrations it's going to be, because now these guys have been in for a year. Everybody's frustrated because they don't know what they're doing, versus set it up right from the beginning and now start building upon the successes. And now you bring in, you say, oh, look at so-and-so's success, and this is how it's been done. And they can build on that, versus everybody kind of floundering.
Yes. Cynthia, do you want to add something to that? I know
I
that
think,
for people like Cynthia and Kim, sales comes very naturally. But I would love to learn your standpoint on people who don't find it that easy.
I think that what Kim said is true. You definitely need to like trust the experts if you have no idea or clue what you're doing. Outsourcing is actually one of the best ways to do it, because hiring like a fully experienced VP of sales or CRO is going to be very, very expensive, especially because you just started scaling. If you have the budget, go ahead and do it. That's what I would do. But if you don't, you definitely need to outsource, like somebody like Kim, for example. Kim does consulting on her side, and she coaches a lot of CROs, a lot of VPs of sales, and that's what she does on a daily basis. So it's hiring an expert, hiring somebody that does know the business, somebody that can tell you, like, you need to build your playbook. You need to focus on the deal stages. What is your buyer's journey? What is your customer journey? What problems are your customers finding? What are your pains? So it's extremely important to trust the experts on this.
Yeah, and talking about expertise, I know one of your, and I've always told you this, Cynthia. Cynthia can talk to somebody, and in 5 minutes, she automatically knows if they're going to be part of her team or not. It's amazing. So this is something that I think that a lot of VPs and a lot of people who are trying to scale their team are really interested on is what are the key traits that you look for when you're hiring these sales professionals. And I would love to learn Kim's point of view as well.
I think that there's two sides to hiring. If you have definitely nailed like the process, when we started in Simera, I'm just gonna map it out. So I have done sales all of my life. When we started with Simera, we sort of had an idea where ideal ICP was. That was built along the way. But the first 6 people that I chose, that's the first step. They were actually all had some sales experience. So I chose reps that had some sales experience. Those were the first 6 reps, and those are people that actually are my actual business development managers. They shout out to Carola and Fernanda if you're listening to me. Actually, it's been 1 year since both of them are working with me. It's their work anniversary today. We started back a year ago with the first 6 Simera hires a year ago. So I chose them because they had worked in companies in Latin America, had some sales experience, had done cold calling before, were just good at lead gen, and that's the reason why I chose them. The next batch of hires that we did, we hired more junior BDRs based on potential. Like we would go on an interview and you would see these bubbly personalities, and we told them like, this job is cold calling. You're going to be doing 100 to 100 calls a day. Are you up for it? People are going to scream at you. People are going to say horrible things at you. Are you up? They're like, I'm up for it. So the second part of our hiring process was building up people that we hired on potential and taking them to that next step. Out of the second batch of 6 reps, I still have 4 with me today. One was not a fit in the process, but I'm actually really happy for her because we did find her a job as an executive assistant with one of her customers, and she's been there for a year. So I'm really happy for Camila. I appreciate her a lot. 4 of those reps actually came on to become senior BDRs. One was just promoted last week. So it was actually a hard work in the process. He had never done cold calling. He booked 27 meetings last month purely on cold calls. So some people can be built up and some people just come with the experience. I do a mix of both, but at the very beginning, when I started hiring, I did try to choose people that had at least 1 or 2 years of sales experience so that it was a lot easier for them. That's the way we did it.
Yeah, those are all great things. There's that balance of the people that have the experience that come in with the skill set that you want, and then there's hey, this is going to be on me to train them. Right out of the gate, though, if I'm interviewing, a couple things that I look for in kind of their traits. A big thing for me is, are they competitive? Sales is hard, and when it gets tough, are you going to step up and like try to go out and win, or are you going to like, oh, this is too difficult and kind of fold? And it's an emotional, it's ups and downs. There's a lot of things that go along with sales, but for me, one of the big things is competitive. The other one is grit. Like, are they, and it kind of goes along with the competitive side, but do they just have that in them to like really push and do what it takes? The other one, which is hard to like really figure out, and I'll share the question I usually ask to like try to uncover if I can see if they have that, but do they expect themselves to succeed? Not hope that they can succeed, but do they expect themselves to succeed? Because the difference between it is someone that hopes that they can succeed, they're going to work hard. Well, you hope they are going to work hard. That's kind of one of the big things they have to be doing, but there's 2 people that will work hard. The one that hopes that they will succeed, if it doesn't go exactly their way at the end of the month, they may, kind of, oh, I tried my best. And the person that expects to succeed, they will find a way. They will pivot, they will scratch, they will claw, and not cut corners. I'm not a big fan of anybody, stabbing anybody in the back or cutting corners to get there. But someone that will like willing to do what it takes to like, because again, They don't see themselves in any other way than winning and succeeding. And so one of the things that the question I'll ask oftentimes in an interview is like, tell me about a time that you failed, and what did you do to get back up? Because I want to see, have they had that where it's like, yeah, because nothing in life goes exactly as planned. I mean, it'd be nice if it would, but it doesn't. And sales, it just amplified. So what are those times where they had that, whether it's in a sales role or in a personal, where like, yeah, this didn't go well, but here's how I got myself out of it? Do they have that confidence to get themselves in a place because they're like, no, again, you can just fold and just let it get to you, or you can be able to get back up and keep going and keep moving forward. So those are a couple of the traits that for me is really important. Coachable is the other one. Are they a know-it-all? That's a little bit tough to bring on, because it's just, again, you want them to know and be able to have that confidence, but are they going to be open to new ideas and have those moments where they don't know it all and they're okay with that? So are they coachable, that I can be able to work with them and be able to teach them the things that they don't know? Or this sales world is constantly evolving. Are they stuck 5 years ago in the way that they've always done it, and they're not willing to try something new when they need to? So they kind of all go together. But those are a couple of the traits and things that I look for when I'm interviewing and trying to understand if they have what it takes.
That's a huge one that you said there, right there, Kim. The ability to be coached, because some people don't take feedback. Like I found it has happened. Like some experienced sales reps, like they navigate through the winds and through the storm, and they come out even better. Some people are just not open to feedback, especially when you're doing role plays or resistance to technology. What Kim just said, like you need to be able to evolve. Sales right before the COVID-19 pandemic was done completely differently. I used to do sales in person, door to door, because we sold spaces in malls. And now everything is 100% virtually. Like moving that over to having every single tech tool that you can have. And if you're not tech friendly, if you don't adapt to technology very well, you're going to have a hard time adjusting. So what you said there is huge, huge, huge. The ability to adapt.
And I think that one of the things that both of you have talked about a lot is how being coachable is really important. I know something that we do in our organization is, if we find somebody that has a lot of disposition and has great English and just really wants to learn the ropes, we usually just confide, we trust in them, and we bring them and we just teach them our processes and give them all the tools to become a great sales leader. And some of them work wonders and become rock stars at their job. But what would you say is like the correct way to strike a balance between like experienced sales professionals and just fresh talent?
I can jump on this one. It is a tough one. Knowing, and part of it has to go, we talked about budget before when we're talking about like hiring a sales leader. It's the same thing with experience. It comes with a price tag. You usually are going to have to pay more for experienced rep than you do someone that's just getting started. So part of it has to do with budget. But the other side of it is there's good and bad with coming somebody that's experienced. The good of someone experienced is they've been there, done that, and you can be able to look at their track record and say, hey, yeah, this person knows what they're doing, and they can bring a lot of great things to the team. The bad side is they may come with baggage, and you don't know it until they're there, but they may come with, no, this is how I do it, and this is how I've always done it. And so there's that side of it where you're trying to balance. Are they also going to do what it takes to get there? Have they gotten comfortable with just being able to be fed leads? Are they going to go out and get their own? And so you're trying to kind of, again, look at it from a standpoint, or, aside from the budget, are they going to come in hungry enough that they're going to really go out and work hard for you? On the inexperienced side, it's a gamble. You don't know what they're going to come. They don't have the track record that you would want to see, but you see that they're hungry. You see that they're willing to work hard. They're willing to, whatever you teach them, they're going to be a sponge and they're going to really go get it. But there's a risk that's involved in that, and it's going to take a lot of time. You're going to have to train them because they don't come in. They may have some natural ability, but they still don't have some of the missing. There's going to be missing pieces that you're going to have to teach them, and they're not going to get it unless you get them there. And they're probably going to take more time to get up and going. It's going to take a longer ramp to get them there. So the balance there is, it kind of depends on the stage that you're at. I've done really well with young, and I'm not necessarily young, people that are coming in inexperienced. I've had people that are in their mid 40s, late 40s that are moving into tech and have never done sales, and I've hired them and they've done great just because they're willing to, like, they have that hunger. They don't have the bad habits, or they haven't gotten lazy in their job. And not that experienced people are, just saying there's good and bad with both. But I've worked for a lot of startups, so I don't have a huge budget for hiring. You get the inexperience, let's teach them, let's go to work, let's roll up our sleeves, and let's get them there. So it's I've had a lot of success with that, and I have had experience come in and do really well as well. And I've had some come in and not do so well because they're expecting, just because of, their name, that it's just, they're going to walk in and it's going to be handed to them. And sales is never just handed to you. It's always going to be work, and starting over sucks. But if you want to do it, if you really want to go and make it happen, you're going to have to dig in and work really hard, whether you're experienced or not.
True. I think that the hungry part with inexperienced reps is a huge one, because I have really young reps that had no cold calling experience, and they're just hungry to get there. You see them book meetings, book, and they become really good reps. The hungry part is a big one right there and then. You're muted, Camille. We can't hear you. Yeah.
Sorry. I was just reading a really good question from Raul Gartz. He says, how do you gauge if a sales rep could be coached or not? Are there any signals that you should be looking for while interviewing? I think that's
definitely.
Really
I think that whenever you give feedback to them, you can see how they take the feedback. So there are two ways to take feedback. Either you grow from it, or you stay exactly where you are and you don't get better. So if you keep giving feedback to a rep and you see that they get mad, they just won't take the feedback, they're continuing what they're doing, negative attitude, that's probably not going to change. And it's not on you to fix that, because part of the success that you have in sales, especially being a BDR and A, is mindset. Like, sometimes sales slumps happen and you just have to keep going, like recession, election, summer, like a ton of things can happen. And maybe you just have sales slump, and maybe working a little bit extra on your cold calling skills, taking seminars or courses just to prep and be ready for that. And if that sales rep is not willing to do that, or they just keep saying like, oh, I have a lot of stuff going on, no, everything I did is right, and they won't improve, it's definitely somebody that's not coachable.
Yeah. And those are great points on that, Cynthia. The other thing I'd say is, just when I'm interviewing somebody, it's a conversation. It's not a grill. So I'm trying to get a feel for their personality and how they act, and how are they, if there's a feeling that they think they know it all. And I know I said that before, but if there's this like air about them that is just, it's like, man, I don't see that they're going to be someone that I can work with, and that they're going to, feedback, or just be able to, like, hey, let's work together on this and build. But if there's this like a little bit of arrogance, or this, I know everything and let me tell you all about me and myself and in everything I've done, and it's like you can't get them to stop talking, that's a red flag for me, where it's like, this is not somebody who cares about anybody but themselves. So those are a couple things for me, but it's just in conversation and I'm just trying to get a feel for and ask them about their history and ask them about this, and just have an engaging conversation. And if through that, it doesn't seem like they care about anything other than themselves, like that's a huge red flag that says to me, like, they're not going to be coachable.
Yeah. So something that I think a lot of people here are really interested in learning, especially with all these things about interviewing, is how do you attract the right talent? How do you get the person to start interviewing and start being interested in your company and working for you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, there's the two different sides of it. There's the actually getting to the point where they come to interview, and then there's the side of it of interviewing. I have had a lot of success with recruiters going and doing that side of it. I have hunted for myself and tried to find candidates, but depending on bandwidth, that may or may not be an option. And so having the recruiters bring people to the table, the people that, hey, these are the qualities, or these are the type of things I'm looking for, and bring them to the table. As far as the interview process, a big thing for me, and Cynthia hit this on the head earlier, talking about, I like to paint the picture of how hard it is. I want to, like, I pride myself on day one of someone showing up, and I say, hey, is this, or, week one, maybe not day one, because they're still a little bit, drinking the Kool-Aid, but after week one, did I map it out? Are there any surprises here of what you thought this was going to be and what it's going to be? Because it's really easy to paint the picture of sales. Oh, this is so easy. This person did 50 meetings in 1 week, and your quota was only 10, and you're going to do 5X, and I can very easily paint a picture of it being way over the top. And then guess what happens when they sign up and they get there? It's not that. And then they're frustrated, and it goes, yeah, there's frustration and all of that. So I'd say that being able to, like, map out, this is what the job takes. Is that does that scare you? Does that, and you're going to be making cold calls. You're going to be told no. You're going to have to do this. I'll teach you all of these things, but is that something that you're willing to do or not? And if the answer is like, yeah, put me in, coach, great. The other side of it, because you're not going to get too many people if the whole picture is this sucks. But on the flip side of it is then starting to paint the picture of, this is what you get when you get here. And then starting, depending on the company and where your growth is and what the potential is. I talked again about, I've worked for a lot of startups. So having something in my back pocket of, like, look, we're growing fast. If you want to set yourself apart, you have the opportunity to do so, whether it's a management role that they're looking for, whether it's to move into a promotion, whether they're going BDR to AE, whatever it may be. And so as far as attracting them to say, yes, I want this, it does come with, again, painting the picture of reality, plus here's the potential, not lying, but here's the potential of what it can be when you do really, really well. I will say I pride myself on most of the if I want them, I can get them. And it's just partly of me having the confidence in myself and them hearing that and them saying, hey, I want to work with you. And again, being honest and genuine. People crave that. The biggest fear is, am I going to sign up for something and then find out it's not what I expected?
You're muted again, Camille.
Sorry, guys. You would think that after 2 years of working remotely,
it's so easy to push it, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it's
I mean,
so yeah.
it happens all the time. So you already have the correct person. You found the correct fit. You interviewed them. They're great. They come into the company. What is, like, the correct way to create a successful onboarding process for new sales team members?
For me, this is one of those things that I've had to learn the hard way. And that's they come on and you're trying to wing it and you're trying to do it all. And guess what? You can't. When you're trying to manage a big team and you've got new reps coming on and you're trying to, there's been teams or groups that I've hired that I nailed it and I felt really confident. And guess what happens with that? They do really well and they get ramped really fast. And then there's other ones where they come on and I'm like, oh crap, like, I'm trying to put out fires. I've got this, I've got that. And I'm trying to, like, okay, just go watch this and go do this. The thing that I have found the best is systematizing. I do like training videos that I've created or that the team has that does teach them, but has activities along the way. And then we gather and say, okay, let's go through this and make sure that I'm answering questions that go along with it, but I'm also getting to see, like, what they're getting and are they getting it or not? Or is it still, like, a little bit confusing to them? So the more that it can be systematized, if I do have capacity, I may step in and do some more training. But the reality is you're usually, as a sales leader, you're stretched way too thin. You already have more on your plate than you can handle. So the more it can be systematized, the better. And then along with that is milestones. I want to have certain things. Again, if they're in sales and they're competitive, they want to have certain things that they're hitting and they're growing with. Two things, it allows them to work towards those. The other thing is it helps me to identify, hey, we've got a problem here. right from the get-go, they're missing their mark on this, and be able to like jump in and help them. Or you might figure out that they're not the right fit, but you find that out early. So they're kind of twofold on that. But back to the question, systematize, get that process, know exactly what you're training at what point and what can I do. And my goal is always, how can I ramp them as fast as possible? Because the faster they ramp them, faster they're doing their job, the more money it's bringing into the table, and they're less of a liability. They're more of an asset because they're bringing something to the table, not just costing me money because I'm paying for their wages, but they're not bringing anything to the table.
Yeah, and that's something that, and I just talk about how we do in our organization. I think that Cynthia is really quick to get everybody on their feet. Sales reps come in and 4 weeks, after 4 weeks, they're already selling things. So I would love to hear Cynthia's onboarding process as well and how she created.
So 4 weeks, no, we actually throw them to start calling on their second week. The first week we focus, what Kim said, we systemized it a lot. At the beginning, it was very like personal because we had the bandwidth. We were only like 4 people on the team. Now that we're 26, you have to we created a deck, and you have milestones for every day. You're expected up to slide whatever. You have to turn in the exercises. We have a daily session where we go over your exercises. And that's just the first week, where we focus on prospecting, how to use the CRM, how to use the tools. We do have a couple of live sessions though. And then the second week is pure role play and live calls and rebuttals. Like we like to call it what Ronan Pissar says, 7 layers of health. So we focus on purely role play the second week. We start setting metrics, and on the third week, you work on your own. You were taught on time management, and you're supposed to do your calls and send your email. So we throw them out on the third week. You're expected to start making calls on your second week, and on the third week, you're on your own. Because as Kim said, the faster that you ramp the reps up, the faster that you're either going to be closing deals, and things happen along the way. Like shit happens, like somebody's going to make a bad cold call, get yelled at. But I mean, it's just the sales rite of passage. It's the way sales work, and they go learning. Then after the first month, if we still see that there's somebody struggling with cold calls, we do one-on-one coaching specifically with that person, like every single day, until we ramp that person up. On the end of the second month, if we still see no results, I don't like to be extreme, but after 60 days, you should be able to see if somebody's actually going to make it or not. Mindset, rejection, did they book any calls? I mean, a lot of things that are in place. So you can decide if either you keep them and place on a performance improvement plan. I hate micromanagement, but sometimes it's necessary in the process. And then see if you decide to keep them or let them go if you see any improvements. My process is a lot faster. And I actually think this is a Kim question. I just saw that Jessica asked, would any of your points of view or advice change if you hire direct for AEs? We don't utilize BDRs.
Sorry, the question was and I don't have the chat up. What was the question?
If the company only hires AEs
full cycle
and
reps,
not BDR, yeah, exactly. What would we still have the same point of view?
Yeah, for me, again, if from most of the reps I've coached throughout my career has been full cycle reps. I have done both BDR AE splits, but definitely have their different what they're supposed to be doing in milestones. It's going to be a little bit different because there's the selling component to it. I have done in the past where I have their first month of compensation, because they're most likely, well, depending on your type of sale and how long your sales cycle is. But a lot of times there's not going to be an actual closed deal within that first month. So I'll do the first month or two that is actually them building their own pipeline. That's what their compensation, because I know if they can build their pipeline, they're going to be able to succeed. If they're just can be able to do great demos, but they don't have anybody to do demos for, then they're probably going to fail. So as far as the process, I still going to throw them in the deep end, but it's probably going to be as far as like interaction with doing a discovery call, doing a demo, doing all of those things. They're going to be having some handholding, whether it's through a manager, maybe it's a mentor that's doing it with them, and they're tag teaming it. but I want to have them as fast as possible, being able to hold those themselves. So I'm going to be doing some things where it's like some role plays and they're going to have to, do those. But then it may be, hey, I'm doing it for them and I'm going to ease them into it. Now they're going to do the intro of the discovery call. Now they're going to ask those questions and I'm going to jump in if they need some help. So it is a little bit different from a BDR to just a straight AE and a full cycle, but there's still different milestones and things that I want them to hit so that they can be able to get they can succeed. Because that's at the end of the day, I want them to succeed and succeed as fast as possible. I don't know if that answered the question.
This is something I get a lot from my clients, for example, is especially for those who are not that used to being in the sales world as much as you guys. What is the difference between a BDR and an AE? Like, what are the roles for a BDR? What are the roles of the AE, and how do they complement each other?
Yeah, so from a BDR standpoint, they are going to, and everybody's a little bit different on what that line in the sand is of what they do and when they hand it off. But typically a BDR, SDR, whatever you want to call it, is going to, their focus is setting meetings. Their job is to get meetings set. And then again, some will do a discovery call, some will hand it off before then, but whatever that line is, the account executive is to take it at least from wherever the handoff is all the way to the close. Others, I've always, even if I have a BDR SDR team, I still require my account executives that they do prospect. Like that is still on them. They should always be prospecting. They should always be looking to fill their pipeline. But the biggest thing is typically you're not going to have a BDR or SDR that are closing deals. Their job is to get meetings set and hand it over, and then the account executive is going to take it all the way to the close. My ideal is the account executive is always setting all the way to close. So they're, even if they do have an SDR, BDR, marketing, all the different people that are going to be filling the pipeline, control your destiny. You always prospect, you always fill your own pipeline, and if everything else is extra.
And talking about that extra, what are you using right now, Kim, to kind of measure and track the success of your sales team?
From from a prospecting standpoint, sales side, all of the above.
I think that from full sales cycle to prospecting, I think that we have people here from all the niches.
Yep. So there is that side of it, and Cynthia's kind of talked about this before of like not wanting to micromanage. I don't like to micromanage either. The only time I have to micromanage is when I know somebody's they're not doing their job. Then there's a little bit.
No, and I hate that. That's like exactly, and that's actually one of the worst things that you can do. But some people just need it.
Yep, you're looking at it. But I will say, in general, I am looking at and tracking what are the daily activities. So from a prospecting standpoint, how many emails are going out? How many calls are being made? How many connects are happening? Is there LinkedIn engagement? Like, what are the things that they're doing on a daily basis? Are they adding more contacts to reach out to? Because there's certain things that should be doing consistently and always be doing. And so looking at those, and again, not doing it from a standpoint of like, hey, did you work today? It's more so of making sure that like, do we have the right things in place? Like I should be able to see, hey, there's some signs here that says my team's working, but the results aren't there. What is it? Is our messaging wrong? Is it we're just going through the motions? Like be able to like look and see those things early on is really, really helpful. As from a like account executive, I want to know and understand like where they are in the process. I want to know like what deals are being closed and how are they getting there? Are things progressing? How fast are they progressing? Like our dates, a close date is always a really important when you're trying to close deals. Is that date always moving? Like if I have a date that says this is closing by June 15th, all right, what steps are we taking? Does the buyer know they're closing on the 15th, or where did that date come from? And be able to like dig in with that. And that's where one-on-ones will become in handy, because I'm going to dig in with them and help them. I want to understand where their pipeline is, what's getting stuck, how they need to help progress, and what questions they need to go back and dig in a little bit deeper. Because most of the time with account executives, when they're struggling, they're not asking enough questions. They don't understand where their pipeline is because they're going based off of gut feel, like, oh, they really like this, but they're not asking deep enough questions. So then I'm prying those questions. Well, how do they feel about this, and what's going to hold them back? And, all of these different things. And when they don't know those answers, it's okay, let's go out and let's go find those and see if we actually have a real deal, or if it's something that we're just crossing our fingers and hope magically it's going to appear in our contract, receiving the contract, and we're going to actually close one in.
Cindy, you want to add something to that?
I think that tracking success is very, very, very important. But I agree with everything that Kim just said. And I think that finding a good incentive plan is key to having your BD. Like, I can talk more about BDRs and I can talk for 10 hours on BDRs just because I manage the Simera BDRs, but I have also managed AEs in the past. I think that reviewing your compensation or your commission structure twice a year is good, and just taking a look at the goals and is this rep reaching them, how many times a year have they been reached. And it's also important, like I see this happen all of the time, that sometimes sales reps get really unrealistic quotas. And there is a problem when I go on a call with a founder and they go like, oh, I'm the only one that books meetings and I've booked 30 and I expect my reps to book 30 meetings a month as well. So there is a problem when that's going on, because realistic goals need to be set in place. And I think that commission structures and actually paying them spiffs is a huge, huge, huge part of actually people succeeding. Money motivates me, and I think it's the only thing that ever motivates me in sales jobs. Of course, growing into a promotion, growing into the organization is always, always, always huge too. But money's probably the biggest motivator that people are going to find out there. And of course, a safe and happy, harmonious work environment. Like, you can be making all of the money in the world, but if it's a toxic work environment, you're never going to be happy. That's my take on that.
Yeah, that was kind of like what I was going to bring in for the second question. Moving on from that was, how do you incentivize these people? I would love to hear from Kim. How does she incentivize her team?
Yeah, so incentives are tricky, and the reason I say that is at one point with one of the companies I worked for years ago, we got to the point where if we didn't dangle something in front of them, they weren't going to do it. And that, like, not just anything, like their day-to-day job. It's like, hey, let's go make some calls. And they're like, what are you going to do for me? Like, that's your job. Like, go make some calls. So having that balance of the things that I like about incentives, like early in my career, I saw what I was worth. Like, I saw what I was capable of. When something was dangled, I'm like, well, I want that. And I went and did something more, even though I thought I worked hard and I thought that I was doing everything, leaving everything on the table. Having an incentive, realized like, wait, if I do, a couple different things, wow, that results were good. So when I think about incentives, a big thing is like, is it giving the right behavior? Are you incentivizing the right behavior to get to the result, but not over the top? Done in the past, like, we're going to do a call day and whoever makes the most calls at the end of the day gets fill in the blank with whatever. Well, guess what happens the next day after a call day? No one makes any calls. And because it's so far out of like the normal that they don't have this like, oh, that's going to help me get to my goals, I'm going to keep doing it. They just did it straight up for that incentive. So finding that balance of what's going to incentivize them to get them to understand and see, wow, like, if I did these things on a more regular basis, I could hit my numbers. I could do these things and have that. But I will say one of the big things that I've done in the past is they hit their goal by Thursday. So especially with like a BDR and they're trying to like set some meetings, and it could be the same for account executive. If they hit their number by Thursday, they take Friday off. No PTO, just a Friday off. And that has been something that, I had people who they just planned on having a 3-day weekend because they were going to hit their numbers. Do I care that they took an extra day off? No, because they hit their numbers, and that's what I care most about. So finding those things that can incentivize them to give them what they want, whether it's from a money or is there something else out there that would be beneficial. Time off is one of those things people usually really want. Great. Let's strike a deal. Let's find a way that can give you what you want, helps me hit my numbers as a leader, and helps the company. Like, it's done in less time. Fantastic. And we're on mute.
And guys, we only have 7 minutes left, but I really want to wrap up with this question because I feel it's broad, and I feel that everybody, that both of you can give us a lot of insight in this. And it's just a general what are the common challenges faced when scaling a sales team and how to overcome those? I'll let Kim start with this one.
Yeah. One of the hardest parts on sales, morale is a big one that makes it tough. If you've got some that are struggling, I've had teams where their common bond is how bad it sucks, and all they talk about is how bad it sucks, and that's really hard to overcome because what do you need to do in sales is have this positive attitude, and you need to like go believe that you can go kill it and do well, and yet all you talk about every day is how bad it sucks. And when someone does succeed, everybody's pulling them, oh, you're too good for us. And they pull them back down into that. And so one of the challenges of it, and this goes back to in the beginning when we're talking about, you need to have that process in place so that people can succeed. And you can, when you bring someone in the door, they have a chance to succeed. And you have that whole process mapped out so you know where they're struggling. And if they're the wrong person, whether they're succeeding in sales or not, if they're the wrong person, you got to get rid of them. If they can't do their role, because it's not a fit for everyone. I want to make sure that I do my part and make sure that they can succeed. But if it's not a fit for them, it's time to cut ties and have those conversations of, hey, this isn't working. Like, you need to go do something. That's a common conversation. If I'm going to let someone go before then, you got to find something that is a fit for you that you can succeed in. So I will say, like, when I'm scaling a sales team, having the sales process so I can understand, like, they know what to do. I can understand when it's not working for them, but cutting ties at the right time, not waiting too long and dragging the whole team down. So that's from my side.
And I agree with that. I think setting expectations since the very beginning and setting metrics and being clear on that is key to that. And yes, I think that when you've seen, what success looks like and what an average rep should be, like, for example, BDRs, what they should be booking, or AEs, how many deals or amount in money, revenue they should be bringing in a month, when it's time to close up shop and just say goodbye to that person and have that difficult conversation, because time is money and money is time. You're just going to be wasting your time. And instead of trying to push that person who won't be able to be pushed or take to across that finish line, you better invest that time in somebody who will actually bring you the numbers that you need. That's my take on it.
And just one last one. And I think we have a lot of BDRs in the audience. So this is one for the BDRs and for the AEs. What is key in outlining a promotion path for a young sales hire? And I think that a lot of people will get a lot of insights on this.
You want me to go, or are you going, Cynthia?
You can go on this one.
Okay.
I think you're
setting expectations right from the beginning. I started off as a BDR when I switched into tech and was told, hey, if you work really hard in 3 months, you're going to be promoted. And I'm like, sweet. And 3 months passed by and I look around the room and realize, wait a minute, that guy's been here for a year. That guy's been here for 9 months. And no one's getting promoted. So from that moment forward has always been, have clear expectations. What is it really? Not to get people in the door, but have that clear expectation, and then hold people accountable. Get them or be held accountable for, if they are doing those things, promote. If you're a company and you're not ever promoting anyone, guess what? No one's feeling like they're going to get promoted. So if you're a BDR or account exec, whatever your role is, and you're looking to be promoted, have conversations. I'd have all the time as a VP of sales, have BDR say, hey, I want to be account executive. What is it going to take? And we put a plan together. So if it's not being presented to you, hey, this is what I want. What do I need to do? But guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to follow through. You can't just, hey, I want this, and then sit and do nothing. If they're saying this is how many meetings you need to set, and you need to go be watching these different discovery calls and be a part of those to be able to learn it, because some of the best AEs I've ever had are those that have gone BDR to AE and they've ramped really fast because they know the talk track, they know where we fit, they know how to talk pain points because they've been involved in all of those. But as a leader, make sure that you're mapping it out real. As a BDR, account executive, whatever your role is, and you want to be promoted, have the conversations of, this is what I'm wanting, how do I get there, and then get a plan in place.
Agree.
Guys, and we took all the time. I'm sorry for the people that we couldn't answer your questions, but the Rev Genius team is going to send us everything and we're going to try to get back to you as quickly as possible. We are so grateful for you guys for being with us. You can connect with all of us. We're going to leave our LinkedIn in the comment section, and you can reach out on our emails as well. We're going to leave all those in the comment section as well. We will send a recording soon. So you, if you missed it, or if you could only be here for a half time and you're looking at us a day or 2 days later, hi, and bye as well. I hope all of you have a great day, and thank you, Cynthia and Kim, for taking the time.
It was so much fun doing this with you, Kim, and happy and excited to talk to you again. And thank you for having us today,
Yeah.
Rev Genius.
Thanks.